He said I was too perfect, then went through my purse while I slept, how my boyfriend's breach of privacy brought back fears from a violent past, and left me wondering if love can coexist with intrusion, anxiety, and control. I know I'm probably going to get a flood of "just talk to him" advice, but I want to be honest about where I'm coming from. I'm specifically looking for input on whether what happened recently with my boyfriend is actually as much of a breach of privacy as it feels to me, or if I'm just projecting red flags onto something innocent because of my past. I'm 29, and I've been with my boyfriend, who's 31, for 9 months now. Things have generally gone well, really well, actually. He's kind, attentive, loving. He has 2 kids from a previous relationship, and I genuinely adore them. I've always loved children, and I've grown close to them in the time we've been together. He tends toward anxious attachment, which can sometimes be tricky to navigate, but he's self-aware about it, and usually responsible and communicative.
He's good.
He's probably the healthiest relationship I've had in my adult life. But before him, I was in something far worse than unhealthy. I was in a relationship that nearly destroyed me, physically, emotionally, psychologically. It lasted 5 years and ended with my ex being convicted of aggravated assault. Not just against me, but also a police officer. The trauma from that relationship ran deep, and I've been in therapy for almost a year now to keep working through it. After everything went down, I picked up what pieces I could. I moved across the state, changed jobs, started using a different variant of my name. I didn't just want a fresh start, I needed one. I needed to feel like the person who survived that relationship didn't have to keep living in the shadow of it. And then, 9 months ago, I met my current boyfriend. We met online, and it felt right in a way that was unfamiliar but comforting. He's open, trusting, and almost radically transparent, whereas I'm cautious, careful, always scanning for things that might go wrong. We're wired differently, but we've tried to meet in the middle. Still, there are some parts of my past that I'm not ready to share. He knows I had a difficult relationship. I haven't hidden that. But the specifics? My ex's name, where I used to live, the full scope of what happened? I've kept that private. Not because I don't trust him, but because even opening that box just a little lets in more than I'm prepared to deal with. If he knows the name, a Google search could bring up mugshots, police records, articles, everything. And once it's out there, I can't take that back. He told me he understood, that he would respect my privacy and wait for me to share when I was ready. But the other week, we had a bit of an argument. He started asking questions, more specific ones, about my ex, about the relationship, about my past in ways that felt suddenly invasive. I shut down. I told him he was pushing boundaries I wasn't ready to open. And instead of pulling back, he got frustrated. He said it felt like I was holding parts of myself hostage and that if we were serious, I needed to stop hiding things. I tried to explain that I wasn't hiding. I was surviving. I was pacing myself. He didn't seem to hear me. What's complicated is that he's not a private person at all. His instinct is full openness. He shares. He connects. He assumes trust as the default. And for him, the idea of withholding anything feels like distrust. But for me, withholding can feel like safety, like control, like boundaries I need to have in place to feel like I'm not going to drown again. He knows I've been trying to rebuild friendships from the past, ones that I neglected during the worst parts of that old relationship. He's met my friends only in passing. Meanwhile, I've met most of his circle. And part of that, again, is because I'm still figuring out how to be this version of myself. The one who's still healing but wants to start being whole again. I know this doesn't make me easy to date. And I know I still have walls up. But I've come so far, and I've done it deliberately. With intention. And so, now I'm stuck asking myself, was this just a misunderstanding between 2 people with very different views on privacy and trust? Or was it something more serious? Something that signals he's willing to disregard my boundaries when they don't line up with his expectations? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Not whether we should talk. We will, I'm sure. But whether what I'm feeling is valid. Whether this truly was a breach, or if it just feels like one because I've been so used to needing to protect myself. I want to believe that love can be patient, that I can ask for time and still be worthy of being loved. That privacy doesn't mean secrecy. That boundaries don't have to cost me relationships. But in this moment, I just don't know. Last night, I went to bed early with a headache. I just needed quiet.
Rest.
About an hour or so later, my boyfriend came into his room, where I've been staying, and asked if we could talk. He looked distressed, almost panicked, and the first words out of his mouth completely threw me off. He told me he had gone through my purse and wallet. He said something had been nagging at him lately, something about how I seemed too perfect. That he'd been having intrusive thoughts about our relationship, and in a moment of anxiety, he gave in to those thoughts. He went through my things while I was asleep, while I was dealing with a pounding headache and completely unaware. What he found, and what triggered all of this, was a debit card with my sister's name on it and an old letter, one that had been written to her years ago by a mutual friend. It had been stuffed in one of those crevices of my wallet, the kind of clutter you forget is even there. The wallet used to be hers. I'd rescued it from her donation pile during a visit, and honestly, I barely even looked through it before I started using it myself. It still had remnants from her life in it, things I didn't even think about. He also said he removed stickers, a photo of the two of us, a letter he had written me, all things that were in there, personal touches I'd kept. He took them out and examined them. Then he looked through my purse. He admitted this to me while he was shaking and teary-eyed, almost on the verge of an anxiety attack. He told me he felt ashamed, embarrassed. Then he asked about the debit card, why I had it, where my driver's license was. That question hit me sideways. I had told him not long ago that I didn't want to talk about my license or my past address yet. I had boundaries around that, and hearing him mention it so pointedly made something sink in me. I had left the license at my apartment after using it to fill in a form online, and I just forgot to put it back. Scatterbrained, yes. Malicious? No. Not even secretive, really. At first, I was just trying to be calm. I wanted to help him come down from the spiral, explain that it wasn't a big deal, that I hadn't hidden anything on purpose. I didn't even care so much about the contents of my bag, it was the why behind it. He hadn't stumbled across something accidentally. He had searched, with intent. He had waited until I was asleep, vulnerable, to do it. And then, just hours later, he wanted to be intimate. As if nothing had happened. And today, he half-jokingly said he wishes we could get married this summer. That emotional whiplash was jarring. How do you go from digging through someone's belongings because you think something is off, to wanting to propose? What's bothering me more than anything is the inconsistency. If he truly thought something was wrong, if he really thought I was lying or hiding something, why not just ask? Why didn't he come to me and say, hey, can we talk? I noticed this debit card and got a bit confused. Why wait until I was unconscious from a migraine to go searching? Why spiral silently to the point of a panic attack without a single question? It's hard to know how much of my reaction is coming from me and how much is coming from the residue of what I've lived through. My last relationship was a war zone. My ex used to monitor my spending, hacked into my online banking, tracked my purchases, so he could find out where I was when he was angry. That experience carved into me a certain kind of paranoia about privacy, even after I left. And I've worked hard in therapy to reclaim boundaries and feel safe in a relationship again. So when someone, even someone I care about, even someone I trust, goes through my personal things without asking, it hits different. Last night, I wanted to be nurturing. I wanted to help calm him down. But today, as I sit with it, the more it unsettles me. It wasn't just a moment of curiosity. It wasn't someone borrowing chapstick and stumbling across an old card. It was targeted. It felt like suspicion. It felt like mistrust. And it makes me question whether I'm really being seen for who I am now, or through the lens of someone else's fear and insecurity. I don't know what to do with this yet. I want to believe that this was a one-time thing, an anxiety-driven mistake. But part of me is deeply unsettled. Part of me feels like this wasn't okay. And I need to know if that part of me is right.